I manage two citizen science projects dealing with aquatic citizen science. These are funded by the Irish Environmental Protection Agency. Both of them are looking really at collecting species data with a view to exploring those species as bioindicators of water quality and climate change. The first project is on dragonflies and damselflies, so it's freshwater. The other project is on marine, so it's collecting records of marine species, mostly intertidal species. So we use our volunteer recorder network to collect records of species. Mainly we're looking at distribution and phenology or timing of the when and where the species occur. So the main interaction with the citizen scientists is gathering their records, validating them, and then making them available online. We also, so obviously to nurture the whole project, then we also conduct training, both online training and in-person training. For the marine, we're also trying to look at the impacts, of course, we're trying to understand the impacts of human activities on marine species. But again, most of our focus will probably be on climate change and what changes in marine species ranges tell us about climate change. So, you know, the other aspect is that all these data are open access data, so that at the end of the project, they'll be there for other researchers. You know, we work a lot based on collaborations, so where we can collaborate with research institutes or state agencies or individuals, we'll do so. So for example, on the marine side, we were recently approached by someone who's looking at biodiversity related to water quality, and they were looking to access the data, and of course our answer is always yes, take the data and use it, because that's what it's there for. Similarly, the data will have been used for other projects. I mean, I'm thinking of the marine data was recently used for a what's the term they used? An ecological sensitivity analysis in the Celtic Sea, where they were looking to implement new marine protected areas. So the data was incorporated into that analysis. From our point of view, on a project level, really a lot of what we're doing is about awareness raising. From the EPA standpoint, they want to raise people's awareness of climate change, raise people's awareness of water quality, and try and instill motivate people to act, to change their behaviors, to reduce the impacts of those two factors on the environment. So, you know, each year we also try and put out, for example, social media messages based on what people can do to reduce the impact on water quality, their impact on water quality, or to reduce their impact on climate change. As the project manager, I'm also involved in the Irish Ocean Literacy Network. So there we have a wider scope of trying to get the public to understand their impact on the seas and the seas' impacts or influence on us. Things like acknowledgement of the citizen science recorder base. It can be challenging. I did a recent poster just for a local conference, and on that one, because it was a local conference and I kind of knew the conference organizers, I knew I could get away with putting my name and the National Biodiversity Data Center Recorder Network, Volunteer Recorder Network, as the authors. But in a lot of academic journals, you can't do that. You know, they won't allow you acknowledge the citizen science recorders as within the authorship of a paper. You know, so that can be challenging. You always have to put it in the acknowledgements. Whereas my preference would always be to put it in the authors list. You know, that they're essentially it's their data. We're just presenting it. So things like that, proper acknowledgement of the citizen science recorder network. few years back, we did a review of, well, we didn't do it, but an outside agency did a bit of research into who our recorders were and what they got out of volunteering. I suppose we found out that most of our recorder network were kind of middle-aged to elderly men with good educational backgrounds and time in their hands. So obviously that's our main audience at the moment, but we constantly need to try and think of ways of expanding that, of reaching underrepresented groups, which is easier said than done, because, you know, to some extent, maybe our recorder network is comprised of the kind of people who have time to go recording. You know, maybe it just reflects the kind of grouping for people with time in their hands, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try and expand our recorder network into underrepresented groups in society. I'm glad to say on the marine front, we do attract a lot more. Well, actually, on both sides, we attract a lot more female recorders, which I think is good to see. I think on the marine side, we might have. I'll have to do a bit of analysis, but I think we probably have more women than men recording. So we've been trying to link in with them. But then there's a whole plethora. There's inner city communities. There's, you know, groups that would be maybe less with less advancement in formal education. So a few years ago, as part of the Explore Your Shore project, we linked in with one of our regional educational training boards to develop a module for youth reach. And they'd be kids who've kind of fallen out of the formal school system, and they're in this youth reach program to try and bring them back into kind of formal education, or at least bring them further on in their education. So we linked in with them and developed a course, and that's still up and running.